Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Nerd Mode. This being a show where I introduce you to a series that you may or may not be familiar with. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Adult Swim animated series, My Adventures with Superman. Like always, this isn't a review, it's just me talking about a series that I really like that I recommend you check out for yourself. My Adventures with Superman is an animated action-adventure sci-fi series. Well, we all know by this point the story of Superman. This series follows Clark in his early 20s. Him and Jimmy had just got hired as interns at the Daily Planet, where they meet fellow intern Lois Lane. While out trying to prove themselves as reporters, our trio find themselves in danger, and Clark, in disguise, decides to use his power to protect his friends. And in traditional fashion, obviously Clark will eventually introduce himself to the city as Superman. But now Clark has multiple targets on his back, one of which is Lois, who will do whatever it takes to uncover the truth about this mysterious hero, Superman, as well as the villains who are a part of this brewing conspiracy in Metropolis. Clark will have to balance his work life, his friendships, his budding romance with Lois, while protecting the city as Superman, while at the same time discovering who he is and where he comes from. So as I was mentioning earlier, by this point in time, when it comes to audiences, everyone pretty much knows Superman's deal for the most part. But that in itself is what makes this show so interesting, because what separates it from other adaptations is it takes what you know about Superman and it remixes it. Traditionally, Clark will learn about Krypton and his Kryptonian heritage at a fairly young age. But in this particular series, Clark currently knows next to nothing about his heritage. I think one of the biggest issues that people have with Superman as a character is that they feel that he's too overpowered. And that critique that some people have, not everybody, but some people's critique of that, I think the show rectifies that criticism. Because basically in this series, despite already being Superman, Clark is still leveling up and learning more about himself, because he's unlocking his more traditional abilities like his heat vision, freeze breath, super hearing, and so on and so forth. Because Clark in this series is not nearly as invincible, or rather invulnerable, as Superman traditionally is in most adaptations or even the comics themselves. There's also the villains themselves have also been remixed. You take a whole bunch of DC Rogues Gallery villains and you change not only just like their designs from their more traditional selves, but even their introduction and roles in the story are remixed and changed from what they traditionally are. Obviously, one of my favorite aspects of this series is the relationship between Clark, Lois, and Jimmy. This trio has such a strong dynamic, especially when you consider how quirky Jimmy is as the conspiracy theorist in the show, as well as how headstrong and relentless Lois is when it comes to her dragging Clark and Jimmy into some shenanigan-filled adventures as reporters. To be fair, that's not too far off base from how Lois Lane traditionally is. What also makes this series stand out in comparison to other Superman adaptations is that it has this very anime style to it. And obviously that's not just limited to the animation or designs or aesthetics, but even the way it goes about telling its story has a very anime-esque style approach. The show all across the board can just be so charming and delightful, and it is so much fun. This is just my personal opinion, but I believe whether you're a fan of Superman or whether you're not a fan of Superman, I believe there's still so much you can find in this show to enjoy. My Adventures with Superman is based on characters from DC Comics. Season 2 of My Adventures with Superman premieres on May 25th. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.